Welcome to Creating Stuff. My name is Jim. Today in the shop, I have something special for you. As you can see by the red fire truck behind me, today I'm going to be working on an antique fire truck. Now, unfortunately, I'm not doing any crazy fabrication or any beautiful paint work or anything like that. I don't paint that good. But I'm basically, it was brought to me because it blew out an exhaust manifold gasket, and so I'm going to replace that and do a service on it while I have it. All it is this is just straight mechanic work, but the reason I'm sharing it with you is because how often do you get to work on a truck like this? I mean, it was like a gorgeously restored fire truck. You don't get to do this very often, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. And actually, there's a neat history with this truck that I actually had a fair amount to do with it, but I'm going to share all that with you right now. So tell you what, let me just let me get into this, and I'm going to just do a walk around, show you the truck, tell you a little bit about the history, and before I get into doing the mechanic work. So tell you what, let's get right into it. Well, let me kick this off with just some simple information. This truck is a 1947 Chevrolet 2-ton chassis with a 232 straight six gasoline engine. Then it was outfitted with a Maxim fire truck body and a 500 gallon per minute Hale midship fire pump. So the Windsor Volunteer Fire Department was chartered in 1946, and this truck was purchased in 47, the very first truck that they ever owned. And just to give you a point of a retrospect or something like that, is before this fire truck, you put the town of Windsor put out fires with a bucket brigade. That was in 1946. That wasn't even 100 years ago. Just to give you a little bit of perspective and what this truck means, is before this truck was in Windsor, they put out fires by a bucket brigade. So. But anyways, a little bit of history of it. This was actually a first due engine for, I think, a couple years to a decade or something like that, when they bought a Seagrave. And this truck actually stepped back to being tanker operations, just because the Seagrave, from what I heard, was a lot faster, so that got to the fire a little bit quicker. Anyways, at some point, I believe it was in the 1970s, this truck was actually sold to Como, North Carolina, and they used the fire truck for a certain amount of years. I don't know how many, but anyways, it fell into disrepair, and then at one point a Windsor local actually found the truck, bought it, and brought it back to Windsor. So unfortunately it sat for even longer outside after that, and then when myself and a few others came across it, and now got the picture of what it looked like when I saw it for the first time. So anyways, so I was a member of the volunteer fire department here in Windsor at the time, and we had a conversation with the person who owned it, and he agreed to donate it back to the fire department as long as it got restored and it never left Windsor. That was easy enough to agree to. So that's how I ended up getting into the picture. Well, this picture here, those are my legs sticking out from underneath because I was pulling the drive shaft out of it to tow it out of the field back up to my shop. So this was over 10 years ago, and I think we spent about 3 years working on it, through many different phases. I did not do everything. I was just a small piece of a bigger puzzle. There were a lot of people that put a lot of hard work into this, and to tell you the truth, I think the biggest thing I did is I was kind of like the organizer, choreographer, however you want to look at it. Is I remembered what parts went where, took everything everywhere it needed to go, and kept track of everything. And if you take a big project like that, you have to have one person that more or less directs traffic, so to speak. So, but anyways, but there was a lot of people worked on it, and some of the amazing things I know. A picture I'm going to show you right now is people in the back of the water tank, the fire truck body, which is a water tank, and we actually shoveled out, I think, like a bobcat bucket full of rust out of the bottom of that water tank. So needless to say, we actually put a lot of work into it. So and the man who painted it did an absolute phenomenal job. So but now I'll show you some pictures, like a picture of the fire truck in front of the USS Wisconsin in Norfolk, Virginia. That's one of the best photos we have taken of it. It really showed. I mean, and the truth of it is, the Wisconsin and that fire truck are of the both a couple years apart of generation. The Wisconsin was built in the mid 40s. Fire truck was built right after World War II. So, and then another picture when I took it to a car show at the Virginia Beach Airport next with a Warbird behind it. So, but yeah, those were some of the good times with. So, anyways, I'll tell you what, I could probably yak about this fire truck for a long time, but I'm trying to keep this short. So, tell you what, I think we need to get to work. Let's go. Well, let me get the truck into the shop so I can get started on it. All right, I got the fire truck in the shop, and let's take a quick look what needs to be done. All right, well, this fire truck just has a 232 straight six Chevrolet engine, nothing fancy, but if you can see right down in here, there's no gasket there. It has blown out. So that is what I am going to fix on it. Well, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to do some maintenance for some other stuff. But anyways, but once again, and as once again, I'm donating my time to this. I'm not making a dime off of this. Not making a dime off of YouTube either, so I'm really working for free. But there's a lot of people who might, I know a lot of people who are tightwads and who are all about the money, and some people can say, well, Jim, how can you possibly work on this truck for free? And my response to that is, you know what? Trucks like this, there's generally in a museum, and they're rope fenced off. There's ropes around it where you can't touch them. I can touch it. I can drive it. So the truth of it is, I really get to, I mean, not to be corny or anything like that, but the TV show that the History Channel used to have called Hands on History, I mean, this is it in a nutshell. I mean, this is a true piece of history, and I can touch it. I can drive it. Where else can you do that? So, you know what? I'm more than happy to donate my time to keep pieces of history like this going. And so anyways, I really enjoy doing it. And like I said, it's a piece of history of the town I live in. So I wasn't born here, I'm not from here, but I've lived here long enough. I'm part of Windsor. So I was glad to do it. So, but like I said, I got to do an exhaust manifold gasket. I'm going to change the oil in this. I'm going to see if it needs anything else while it's here. So, but once again, and I apologize, this isn't like crazy computer CNC stuff or like that. This is simple mechanic work, but the reality of it is, I think this is really neat, and this is not something that most people get to see every day. And I've worked on this antique truck along with a few others, not to mention my own collection. 1950 Jeep CJ3A. Actually, that's Dad's, but so I get to play with my own antiques. So once again, so that's why I'm donating my time. This is a good piece of history to preserve, and like I said. So anyways, well, I got parts ordered for that. I'm not going to tear into it just yet, just because I don't like to take things apart until I actually have parts, because the truck's still movable as it speaks. So if anything were to happen and the truck and I need the bay for an emergency, I can still move the truck out, so I'm going to leave it be. But tell you what, I'm going to show you a few more things about this truck. Hopefully you might find it interesting. Let's get to it. All right, now I'm going to see how this turns out. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a lesson for people who don't know about fire trucks. And the truth of it is, the way this truck works, this is a 1947, and it works more or less identical to a modern fire truck that's currently in service now. The only difference is the trucks are a lot bigger. Have fancy computer systems and a whole bunch of other stuff. But when you get down to the nuts and bolts, how they work the exact same. So for fighting fire, is everybody knows fire trucks pump water. That's how you put fire out. Okay. Well, so in case you didn't know, this right here is the actual fire pump. This is an intake, discharges. So basically, water comes in here, water comes out here. So, and basically, this is called a midship fire pump. These designs have been unchanged for 80 years. Basically, this is a Hale. This is a 500 gallon per minute pump. So it'll pump 500 gallons per minute, working off a static water source. These are the hard suctions. They would go to the intake. Then you put that into a lake, river, or swimming pool, whatever. Or because back when this truck was brand new, there was no such thing as hydrants. So this is your pump, and unfortunately you can't see it, but back behind these hoses, back here, that's a the whole back half of that truck is all a water tank. This truck actually holds 700 gallons of water. I know it because I measured it. Back when I did the work on the restoration, when I had to cut the top off, and a lot of work. Bottom line is I had to fill it up, check it for leaks, and it holds about 700 gallons of water. So anyways, water tank, pump, and basically there's on the underside, there's a valve, which we don't have the handle for it out here, because this, although this truck can pump water, it can't right now. So you could actually pull water off the tank and then pump it out one of these discharges. So, and then you say, okay, well, how does this magic fire pump work? Well, first and foremost, it uses the power of the engine to pump this. Now, hold on a second. I got to get a creeper, and I'm going to show you something underneath. All right, now we are on the business end of fire truck. This is how I used to make money off this stuff. The intake I showed you on the outside is that right there. So you come up. So the actual impeller that actually pumps the water is actually right in there. And so basically, how does it get power to pump the water? Is that right there is the drive shaft that comes off the transmission, and that drive shaft actually drives the rear axle. There's the rear end and the rear tires. So that's actually how you propel the truck down the road. So how do you convert that engine power to pump water instead of driving the truck? Well, this right here is called a transfer case, and this is actually part of the fire pump, where you have the drive shaft comes in. Apologize. That's the drive shaft coming in and the drive shaft going out, drive the rear end. So when you put it in pump gear, is basically it'll actually disengage that drive shaft and engage that drive shaft to the impeller shaft, and then you can throttle the engine up to increase water pressure and pump water. So and the truth of it is, although this truck is a 1947, all this was built in 1947, all modern fire trucks work exactly like this, the ones that have a midship fire pump. There's some goofy stuff out there. I won't throw anybody's name out there, but the stuff's garbage. But anyways, but like I said, the biggest difference between this pump and the modern ones is the modern ones are a lot larger. They generally won't find them any smaller than 1250 gallons per minute. Most average ones are 1500 gallons a minute. But I mean, I'm sure there are some smaller ones on some smaller trucks. But anyways, they all work exactly the same way. Just the newer stuff's a lot bigger engines, bigger pumps, and more volume of water. All right, I am back working on the antique fire truck, and my good old local Napa store got me hooked up with the manifold gasket I needed. I got some oil. I'm going to do an oil change on the truck along with changing the air filter. Just some routine maintenance. Nothing earth-shattering, nothing high-tech or anything. So I'll tell you what, we'll get ready for a time lapse. So I'm going to get to work. Let's get some work done. All right, I turned the time lapse off because it was a lot of boring stuff. Just trying to get those bolts undone. That was a lot of hanging over the fender, cursing and swearing. And anyways, but I got the manifolds out, and with one additional problem is, anyways, the gasket was blown in a couple spots, not a big deal. But the issue that I have now is all the way back here. Is I've got a bolt broke off in the cylinder head. So that is not fun. So if anybody's ever seen memes about 30-minute job is one broke bolt away from 5-hour job, this is it. This is exactly it, because ultimately there's a very high possibility I'm going to be pulling the cylinder head, but I think I'm going to take one shot in the dark. I think I'm going to get a fireproof blanket and throw down there, see if I can get some heat on that thing. If I can get it hot enough, it'd be nice to if I can get it to come loose. So anyways, let me meditate. Anyways, well, I'm gonna meditate on my conundrum and see which way I'm gonna go. Like I said, I'm gonna see how quick I can get a fireproof blanket or a flat pad or something to put down there so I can get my torch in there, get that stud nice and hot. If I get it hot, it should be able to come out, but I don't want to damage the truck. So ultimately, I may end up be pulling the cylinder head, but it is what it is. So I'll bring you back if I go do plan A or if I go right to plan B. So be back in a minute. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this video off here and make two videos instead of one, because this job snowballed into a lot more than what I originally intended for. So anyways, and partly is to pull the cylinder head out. I have to get that engine hoist out, which I got to move all of that crap. So, and plus I got to move the truck back. So anyways, so you just have one more video to look forward to if you like seeing this antique fire truck. So if you like this video, please like it. Subscribe to the channel if you like it. If you like to see more stuff like this, like I said, I'm just showing you this because not many people get to work on a really cool antique fire truck like this. So if you want to see more of this, there's a couple other trucks I do take care of from time to time. I'll be more than happy to share them if that's what you guys like to see. So anyways, so I'll tell you what, I will see you on the next one. Bye.